It started in Shay's throat. A terrible pain. A pain that burned as if 1,000 knives had been stabbed into her at once, isolated in one small area of her body. The girl clasped her hands around her neck, struggling to scream, but only forced noises of pain exited. The agony quickly coursed through her entire being, bringing tears to brim her eyes. Everything besides her head was consumed. Her mind remained strikingly clear, as if she were submerged in frigid water. The coughing began then, a horrible, body-racking wheeze that scorched her throat. She found herself short of breath, struggling to gulp air into her lungs before the next fit began. "Oh, God, I'm dying," it was all she could think about. I'm dying. I'm dying. The pain suddenly evaporated. The only clue that had ever been there were the memories, fresh and stark in her mind. Her lungs instantly began to scream for air, and she answered the plea, drinking in gulps of hot, stuffy air. As quickly as it began, it was over. "What just happened?" Katrina stammered, hot-headedness gone. Shay lifted her eyes, scanning her friend's terrified face. She stopped when she saw her eyes, the cause of horror seizing her expression. Small rings encased the inky dots in Katrina's eyes, almost looking as if they could be glowing rings of light. She blinked a few times, believing her eyes were deceiving her. "Katrina? Your eyes?" was all she could spit out. All other sounds were silenced as Katrina's face went ashen. Her haunting eyes grew to the size of saucers. "What's wrong with them?" she said quickly, a voice quaking with fear. Disbelief was present in the curl of her lips. "There's rings around your pupils." Some of the others began to move, leaning in to get a view of the phenomenon. "Stay back. We don't know if she's contagious." The group lurched back, whispers of panic swelling in the silence. "Shay, you have them too." Her heart plummeted. It felt like a blow to the face and a kick in the butt delivered at the same time. The ultimate bearer of bad news. Her body went rigid with a single shaky breath released through her nostrils. "It's BSL-1. Nothing in the air could kill us. We'll be okay." She found her thoughts did nothing to quell her terror. "We all have it," Katrina shouted, driving a finger first at Marina and then Carson, before facing the others in a wide circle. "Cassie's fine. Shut up. You're scaring everyone for no reason." Marina's voice was shrill, her hands clenched at her sides. The golden-haired girl stood behind her, peeking around a lanky arm. "Wait. Cassie has hazel eyes, not blue." Kylie pointed out as she stood beside Marina, blocking any path of escape for Cassie. Shay's jaw stiffened as she approached, keeping a cautious distance. She had trouble believing the girl's eyes would just simply change, although her reserved motions spoke differently. Cassie's eyes had indeed changed color, shifting from the normal shade to something far eerier. Her irises were now a shade of pale blue-gray, the hues of blue very icy and more prominent than the gray. She had to tear her gaze away, but a terrified squeal began to rise in the back of her throat the longer she looked. Something was wrong. Behind them, someone coughed, and Shay's heart leapt into her throat and her eyes darted around, counting 9 people in her immediate proximity. None of them had coughed. Knowing the group of teenagers around her, someone would be sniping about it. She slowly turned, dreading what would be awaiting her. Nobody was there. Nothing at all, just empty space. Confused, she allowed her eyes to wander, searching for the source. Nobody presented themselves. She took a disoriented step forward, her eyes humming with all the frightening new discovery. Up here. The voice was far too deep and gravelly to be any of them. Looking skyward, a projection had flickered to life on a glass wall, illuminated by a source she couldn't pinpoint. On the screen was the image of an older man. His hair was white as the whiskers on his face. Bags were present under his eyes. He rubbed his wrinkled forehead as he sighed, a look of dismay falling across his features. She swallowed hard, only guessing what would come next. Please raise your hand if your eye color has changed, he instructed, his voice scratchy and rough. Cassie's small little hand was the only one to go up. What color is more prominent, gray or blue? He questioned. Cassie shrugged, glancing at Shay as he did so. More blue, she responded for her. Well, that isn't good. She heard Cassie gulp. The doctor was feverishly moving a pen across something off screen, presumably a notepad. Oh, God, he's taking notes on us? What if we're test subjects, lab rats? Please, the idea made a storm in her stomach. Please raise your hand if rings appeared around your pupils. All remaining 8 raised their hands. She could feel their arms shaking. This is certainly interesting, the doctor replied, pursing his lips. His eyes had flickered to the left for a moment before snapping backwards, his body jolting as something had frightened him. The dread in her stomach only increased as she walked. Now suspicious, the doctor wasn't alone. What the hell is so interesting? Tell us what's going on now, Carson demanded. He was trying to act tough, probably for the sake of his ego, but inside the boy was shaking like a child, no more diligent than anyone beside him. The man's face instantly contorted in anger, his eyes flickering down to Carson with a disapproving stare. What's interesting, young man, is how 8 out of 9 of you are carriers, he spat back stiffly. His reference to Carson as young man made the boy cringe, as he wasn't the formal type. However, Shay was not concerned with her boyfriend's displeasure. She was curious as to what exactly a carrier was, as she was one of the 8 who now carried those rings. I'm one of these carriers. Knowing the definition of the word, that doesn't sound too hot. What in the hell is a carrier? Marina shouted, taking the words right out of Shay's mouth. Standing next to the two of them, she felt her posture become a little straighter. Her fear was steadily ebbing away. They deserved answers, but were only being fed more questions. All of you, watch your language. If you would shut up, I could explain, he said back, voice rising. Instantly, all panicked chatter fell to a hush. Silence once again cloaked the room, instantly becoming heavy and unbearable. Marina, not convinced, crossed her arms on her chest. All right, go, she ordered him, eyes glued to the screen, beckoning him to continue. The doctor observed her warily, pursing his lips in evident displeasure. His speech was hesitant. He created a stoic, gathering all wandering attentions. The 9 of you have just become infected by a virus that was released into this room. Before you throw yourselves into a panic, let me tell you that the 8 of you with the rings will not perish. Although from other humans, I cannot guarantee your safety. Hey! Yep. Yep. Okay. See you later. Bye. The less you talk, the more you'll know, and the better off you'll be. She wouldn't process the words as they spilled out of the doctor's mouth. She was clueless to what a carrier was. He'd failed to answer that question. He hadn't told him anything about the virus that was now living inside their bodies. Now, continuing on, the virus you have been infected with is BPV-01. Ever heard of it before, have you? Nineheads shook in response. She swallowed her nervousness, fighting the urge to spit something out again. She wanted to hear as much as she could before rattling the man with questions, especially after his reluctance. Of course you haven't. It was developed in genetic labs. We were, say, making some final improvements when you triggered infection. The strain was not completed. Why would you want to unleash an unknown virus on mankind? Marina cried, voice loud but rattled. Shay remained where she was, eyes glued to the screen, struggling to distract herself from the gnawing terror. The doctor gestured to the wall behind them. She knew exactly what would be waiting for her when she turned around, the rapidly growing digit. It's the population of the world. The pieces suddenly snapped together with horrifying clarity. Oh my god. You created a population control virus? We're infected with a population control virus? She blurted, sounding shrill and shaky. Marina and Carson nodded meekly beside her, faces grim. The doctor grinned. His action sent shivers rocketing up Shay's spine. Why the hell is he smiling in a situation like this? Her brain was processing everything at high speeds, soaking in every little word the man had said and analyzing it. She wasn't even sure her theory was correct. She prayed it wasn't, but if it was, she shook away at the thought, knowing her mind did not need to be shrouded in play. We've got a smart one over here. They'll be happy to know it worked. He seemed to be talking to himself as his eyes slipped downward, his arm moving as if taking notes yet again. As if what he said was not intended for their ears. What the hell does that mean? Carson said. He wasn't one for language usually, but something about the situation made it seem like even he found it acceptable to curse in such a flippant manner. She could understand if she wasn't so terrified. She would have been cursing like a sailor. However, fear was like a super glue on her lips. There would be no profane outbursts anytime soon. Didn't I tell you to watch your language already once, young man? The doctor snapped, eyes trailing down to Carson. She watched as he bit his lip to keep from spitting something back. Bite your tongue, Carson. Yes, but you won't give us any answers. Carson rallied, the hard edge to his voice bringing the doctor to scowl. Be quiet, and I will. If you really must know, she figured it out before I had to tell her, but shows signs of intelligence. That's good. I can't tell you the details. You aren't all at that kind of clearance. You're just a bunch of kids. All I can say is yes, you 9 are infected with a population control virus. As you can tell by that ever-increasing number on the back of the wall, the population of this planet has been reached over 10 billion, and that is when resources will be stretched too thin. We've been struggling at least the last decade. Something had to be done, and now thanks to you, the unperfected strain is released 7 months ahead of plan. Can't you just keep us here until December comes? Katrina asked, breaking her personal silence. His eyes briefly flickered down to her before he rolled them, muttering softly under his breath. Shay slipped her eyes over to Katrina, whose tight expression was that one of a girl biting back sharp-tongued remarks. I was getting to that, he snapped. She shrank back, startled by his sudden aggression. Out of the corner of her eye, Katrina did the same. There is, from my point of view, no major setbacks for releasing the 9 of you now. The project will certainly be accelerated, but it's a large relief for 8 of you are carriers. I can tell you that there are 3 reactions to the virus, the most common, exampled by your friend with the changed eyes. These individuals, unfortunately, shall perish. Cassie unleashed a distraught wail as her body fell against the glass, lithe figure trembling. Shay felt anger swell in her chest as she watched, furious that her friend had just been given such a bleak ultimatum. Would you mind telling us why there is a lethal virus contained in a BSL-1 lab? The words, hot and furious, spilled out of her mouth before she could stop them. Although she regretted it, she did not show it, instead standing with her fists clenched and jaw tight, something white-hot pulsed in her chest. You aren't standing at a BSL-1 lab, child. We're smart enough to follow safety regulations, unlike you lot. The sign above the doors in this room said BSL-1, so don't tell me I'm wrong. I can damn well read. Then explain why we would put 2 sets of locked doors only opened by handprint identification for a room that contained nothing more threatening than a common cold. He shouted back furiously. Shay, stop, Marina warned. Why was it so easy for us to get in then? She rallied. The doctor's head turned, facing someone off screen, the vicious scowl and blazing eyes a tell-all. Did you have anything to do with this? Think it's funny to switch the signs? There was no response, but something yet again seemed to spook the white-haired man, for he quickly turned back around, all anger dissipated. She narrowed her eyes, believing she could see a shaking in the man's shoulders. Say 1 word, I'll put my hand over your mouth, Marina said through gritted teeth. We don't want to push him too far. We need answers, and he's the only person that can give them to us. The 2 locked eyes, gaze intense. but was understanding. Her mouth could be a blockade to vital knowledge. Next is the second reaction, when the gray is more prominent. The person is immune. They have been infected, yet shall not perish. However, these people cannot carry the disease. Only infected and carriers can. Normally, the infected die too quickly to do much spreading, which is where you come in. He changed the subject as quickly as his mood changed, she realized. He was speaking quicker now, and panic was in his eyes. This evoked another wail from Cassie as she pounded her fist against the glass. It made her wince, seeing someone in such a frail, emotional state as the girl was then. Cassie was a sweet girl. She didn't deserve what had just been handed to her. I'm sorry, Cassie. I'm sorry. There were no red flags. This wasn't supposed to happen. This is my fault. As I said, the immune cannot transfer the virus. The infected can. But as I also said, they tend to die too quickly to infect masses of people. The carriers are the immune. The virus is inside of them. But something registers that makes them immune to it. However, the carriers are just extra special. The rings on your eyes are something only the carriers get, as I'm sure you've noticed. BPV01 is transferred through touch and bodily fluids. That is your job. Carry the virus. Spread it. She was dumbfounded, rendered mute by his words. Her tongue felt like lead in her mouth. There was no way this could be real. His words couldn't register. She was infected with a virus that she had spread to the world. By the tone of his voice and grim look etched to his features, he was not giving them an option. This was a command. Shouldn't a virus made for some barbaric reason such as this be airborne? Marina spat. So she was unsuccessful in revealing her fear. She shook her head, bobbing in agreement to her friend's words. Put in the birds, not teenagers, Shay said. Watch your mouth. I apologize. Please explain why this isn't an airborne virus, she said, a hard edge to her voice. The doctor's lips pulled back into a slight sneer, if only for a few moments. Damn it, he's not going to tell us. Great move, Shay. Excellent. She couldn't help but condemn herself. Oh, it would have been, but that's entirely the fault of you 9. Other labs were working on airborne strains, but they too could kill too swiftly to be effective. We would have had time to smooth out our errors if this strain hadn't found its way into your bodies. Look at your families and friends, for mostly everyone you know will die. Get out of Kansas City as soon as you can. You only have one job now, and that is to spread the virus. And don't get killed while doing it.